Welcome back into the locker room. I'm your host, Will Kronsberg, once again, joined this week by Austin Nasser. And today, Austin, we're going to talk about the World Series. We're going to preview the Astros versus the Braves and everything we're looking for in the Fall Classic. What are you most excited to see coming up?
Well, just after this conference series, and you have these two guys, one for each team, and they're not really their star players, but they've really risen up and they've carried their teams and they've led them offensively. We have Yordan Alvarez with the Astros and Eddie Rosario with the Braves. These guys have come out of nowhere. Eddie Rosario, a midseason acquisition for the Braves and someone who has really helped them in this journey to the World Series.
Now, when you look at the Braves and the Astros, these are not two teams that scream offense to you. They both overcame more offensively powerful teams in the Red Sox as well as the Dodgers on the NL side. So what do you expect offensive output-wise? In addition to Yordan Alvarez, Eddie Rosario, what do you expect to see in this series on offense?
Well, with the Astros, you've got their two big-name guys. You've got Altuve and you've got Carlos Correa. They had a great series against Red Sox, and I think you can look to those two guys for Houston to continue to outpour offensively. And then when you look at the Braves, you've got Freddie Freeman there. He's been there. He's been that guy. And I think you can look for him to get a little bit better of a performance today, or in this World Series, as well as Ozzie Albies and Austin Riley. Look for him to step up. So,
yeah, absolutely. But it's important to note on the Braves that they're operating at sort of a decreased output because they lost Ronald Acuna. They've had injuries to guys like Albies throughout the season. So they're still just trying to get back into that form, and even without one of their best players, Acuna and Freeman both being MVP-type players. So do you think we're going to continue to see that damper on the highest stage, or will they have recovered enough over the last few months?
I think we could see an offensive outpour in some games, but I think we could also see defensive games and lots of pitching. My bad.
Well, in addition to Rosario, you also see Jock Peterson, another mid-season acquisition, Freddie Freeman as well. They all have 3 home runs this postseason. Rosario leads the National League in postseason batting average at .474 over the past month or so. And I think that's a really strong place for the Braves to be, and against a very inexperienced Astros pitching staff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of young guys for the Astros. You've got Luis Garcia, Christian Javier, and Framber Valdez. These are all young guys, and them losing another young guy in Lance McCullers is really going to prove detrimental for this team as they go on throughout the series. They will not have him, so that'll be a struggle. And on the other end, you've got guys for the Braves. You've got Max Fried. You've got Tyler Matzek, who's been a phenomenal reliever for them, and he's really come in clutch for them over this postseason run.
So getting into the pitching matchup there, for Game 1, we're going to see Charlie Morton for the Braves, and like you mentioned, Framber Valdez for the Astros. Valdez is, in a sense, their ace right now, but he's a guy who only has a 4.2 ERA, just one quality start this postseason. So do you think he's a guy they can actually count on in Game 1, maybe to come back around in Game 4, Game 5, or are those going to be Braves advantage games right off the bat?
I think you have to give the nod to Atlanta for those games. They're coming in hot. They're riding the momentum. They're riding the waves. And yes, while he's done pretty well in service as their ace, he's really not that guy. I think you should look for Atlanta to be up 1-0. And I don't know if we'll get a long performance from him and coming back in maybe Game 4, Game 5, like you said. I think they may look to the bullpen early on in those games to follow.
And behind him, they have a similarly inexperienced staff. Luis Garcia, Jose Urquidy, who doesn't have a lot of postseason experience as well, expected to get starts. And Zach Greinke, we're expecting to see back. Lance McCullers goes down. Greinke comes back, and he's a guy with probably more experience than you'd see out of all MLB pitchers. So what do you expect to see out of Greinke in this World Series?
Greinke, he's a former All-Star. He's a big, big name. I think with a guy like that who does have the experience, you can look for him to really present some experience, and he's gonna be calm in that situation. He's gonna come out and look for him to have a good series. It'll kind of be like a little bit of a good story. A guy who's on the older side now, not exactly the form he once was, but him coming into the picture, he could really give the Astros some good innings from the pitching standpoint, and maybe provide a little spark for them.
Well, having discussed what we might see out of both sides, looking at the matchups, I want to talk a little bit about how these teams got here. Like I mentioned, the Astros overcame the Red Sox in the ALCS, and the Red Sox in turn overcame the Yankees, who have a really strong lineup. So what do you think about those? What was the biggest surprise for you on the AL side, Red Sox, Yankees, as well as the White Sox were also in the playoffs? Who did you expect to see, or was it the Astros?
I really thought it was going to be Tampa in there for the championship series. I thought it was going to be Tampa and Houston out there because Tampa had a strong regular season. They've been there. They were in the World Series last year, just lost. I thought they were going to get there, but they obviously weren't. And then you had the Red Sox. They came in, they did what they had to do, but then they just came up a little bit short. So I thought Tampa and Houston was the AL championship series to look forward to. Obviously, we didn't get that. And then when you look at the NL, Atlanta, they started off real slow this year. At the All-Star break, below 500, didn't reach 500 until early August. So they haven't been the strongest team all season long, but they've really picked it up, and over the second half of the season and the postseason, they've looked like one of the best teams in the league.
Well, Atlanta was the 3 seed in the National League. You have to remember that they beat the Brewers 3-1 in the division series, came back to beat the Dodgers 4-2 in the championship series, but the Brewers, the Dodgers, and the Giants all had better records than them. I think the biggest surprise was that we didn't see the winner of that Giants-Dodgers series even make it to the World Series. The Dodgers look really strong with their immense lineup of power hitters and high contract guys, of course. The Giants had the best record in the MLB against really all odds, but they did have the best record, and then you see those two teams kind of fold in the playoffs, and it takes you by surprise, most definitely.
Absolutely. The Giants, best record in the entire MLB. They were the team to beat. And then the Dodgers with that biggest payroll in the entire league. Superstars all across the lineup. Just big names, last season's champions. You really thought, like you said, the winner of that division was going to be the NL representative in the World Series. Obviously, that didn't happen. We have the Braves, but just looking forward to this matchup because the Braves last year, they were up 3-1. They blew it. It was unfortunate for them, but it's really good that they'll get their shot this year to actually just get their first World Series, I believe, since 1995. So good for them. We're looking forward to it.
First appearance since 1999. But I am one to admit my fault, Austin. A few weeks ago on this very show, I predicted that it would be the Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series, and I could not have been more wrong, to be honest. But there's one thing we can't ignore about this World Series, and we couldn't ignore it if the Red Sox had made the World Series either, to be perfectly honest. And that's cheating. We know that the Astros got in trouble over the past few years when last time they made the World Series. Red Sox, much of the same, despite the fact that they brought back Alex Cora after a 1-year leave. So do you think that legacy of cheating and trash can bang will continue to hang over the Astros' head as they go into this championship series, or is it kind of past them with the punishments being handed down already?
Well, I think there's always going to be those people out there, the purists, who are going to look at this team and they're never going to give them any respect. They're never going to just really accept that championship, and rightfully so. They cheated. But when you look at this year, I think this is a team that's on a redemption path. They really want to prove that they can get it done, and it wasn't just the cheating. They have talent, they are skilled, and they are one of the best teams in the league. And I think they're really looking to prove the doubters wrong and that this is a legit championship. And I think if they get that done, I think then when we look back on it in history's past, they will get some respect, and people will realize that this is a great team, and they did deserve to win because they truly were the best team in the MLB this season.
Well, I think one player I'm going to have to look at is Jose Altuve. He's a guy who, for them to win the World Series, Altuve probably has to perform well in general. But he's a guy that since this cheating was found out, he's struggled on and off. He had a really rough 2020 season coming back from COVID. He's only batting .200 in this postseason. So it'll be interesting to see specifically if he can overcome those issues and win another World Series for Houston. Yeah,
like you said, Altuve is their guy. He's the one they rely on. He's the one they look for. He's their superstar marquee player. And I think when it comes back to this stage, he's back on the World Series stage, a place he's been there. He's been there before. I think he might get comfortable, and we could see some sparks fly. But at the same time, like you said, he really hasn't been the same guy since that cheating scandal. So if he doesn't find his rhythm, if he doesn't find a way to put on in this series, is that going to be something that people talk about when they discuss Altuve's legacy? But if he does go ahead and maybe put in 1-2 home runs a series, bat .400 throughout the series, then that is something that will add to his legacy and make a case for him when it comes to Hall of Fame time.
And it's certainly a lot to look out for. Reminder, the World Series starts tomorrow. It'll run about a week and a half through the middle of next week if it goes all 7 games. And there's a lot to be excited about. For Austin Nasser, I'm Will Kronsberg. Thank you so much for joining us.